Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second.
Does he have it? Medeiros is going to get it. They're going to toss it. They haven't got it. He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Hello everybody and welcome to Laguna Seca here at the start of another Radical Race Series season. We've already had one, of course, in 2024, won by Simon Edwards, who was able to take his 6th title after 3 seasons away from the top step. He has won again and is the new reigning champion for Season 2 of 2024. Welcome along to the JPB YouTube channel once again as we bring you another 12 races live here from this great series. My name is Ewan, James Parfitt alongside me, and we'll be with you for the rounds here this season. Good to be back for this one here, James. Starting off actually where it all began in terms of sprint and feature racing. Laguna Seca was the very first venue that we took on this new format for the very first time, a long time ago now. But it's back again here this season in what's a pretty American start to the season. The first 3 out of the first 4 rounds will be taking place in this country, starting with Laguna Seca this week. Well, it's I think it's before JPB covered it, to be honest, when we started this format, although I don't fully remember. Yeah, maybe, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, once again, I'm proving my memory to be absolutely atrocious. And anyone who's been in this series for a long time, i.e. most of the drivers in here today, will be able to testify for that. 8 minutes to go in qualifying. No championship standings to show you because it is the first round, but a couple of notable absentees. Simon Edwards won't be here today. He said earlier on this evening that he's having a bit of a break from the Radical, but he does promise to be back, just didn't say when. Could even be as early as next week, so we'll see about that for him. All right.
In a Formula Ford or something, that would be quite cool, wouldn't it? Or a little Renault Clio. Simon?
Tell you what he has been doing is racing in the rain a lot in the last week. He was asking about that in the Discord earlier on this week, and asking what everyone's been doing in week 13. He mentioned that he has been in the rain a lot and practicing and just driving in the new weather climate, of course, here on iRacing. And of course, it's worth noting that Phil Glover is another notable absentee here for this round. Says that he can't make it tonight. Currently waiting to see a doctor in hospital, he mentioned a couple of hours ago. Not sure how that's going for him, but hope that he gets well soon and we can see him back on the Radical Race Series track once again in the near future. But two real stalwarts of the series, Simon Edwards and Phil Glover, absent here from our opening round, which is sad to see, but hopefully Glover will be back again and chatting to us after a Radical Race Series race again very soon.
Oh, I know. Poor Phil. Hope you get well soon, Phil. Hope you are better, dear sir. And we do see you out on your racetrack, in your race rig, rattling your teeth at Sebring, I'm sure, in your motion simulator there. But Luke Maxwell, top of the time in town on 1:18.313. He's going purple again in Sector 1. We've got Robert Woodward, David Rolliston, Graham Brown, Mike Buson, John McHutchinson's here for quali. So check that out, as the Scotsman is here for quali as well.
Yeah, hold on to your hats, you're not hallucinating. He is here. And there he is, going green in the first sectors. Luke Maxwell's going purple though. He is going very quickly and already tops the timing sheets. Can he even put it further at bay? He can indeed. An improvement, and the first driver into the 17s. What a lap from Mike Buson. It's not Mike Buson, excuse me, although he does go third. From Luke Maxwell, who's still over half a second clear of John McHutchison. James Barry finally gets to within half a second, but to have such a gap at a short circuit like Laguna Seca, that's an astonishing lap time from Luke Maxwell.
Yeah, I bet, and I think he's got competition in James Barry and John McHutchison and Mike Buson, but obviously with Simon there, who's just said in YouTube chat, I am thoroughly soaked after driving in the rain. I did a stint in the rain at the when I was setting up the sessions for the Formula Ford series. I thought I'd just jump in the car and see how I got on. I will say one thing: if you're on the grass in the rain, you ain't getting out in a hurry, as I found out after doing about a 20-point turn going backwards and forwards to try and get the Formula Ford off the grass. So the grass in the rain is wet. It is slippery and it is very, very wet.
Yes, we look forward to seeing rain in the Radicals at some point, although I can't see it affecting us at Laguna Seca anytime in the future because it doesn't seem to rain a lot around here. We are in California, but it would be nice to see, would be interesting. As Luke Maxwell goes quicker again, James Barry will come up to the line. Now he's gone purple in a couple of those sectors and might be challenging Maxwell here. He goes quicker and not far at all off Luke Maxwell. Maybe we do have a qualifying session on our hands and a bit of competition between Maxwell and Barry because they're separated by half a tenth now, not half a second.
Yeah, James Barry doing an absolutely stellar job dragging that car forward. And then, of course, we've got Paul LeMay. Let's pull the full names up so you don't get confused which LeMay's up there. Paul LeMay is in third. To be there, I haven't actually... Oh, yes, Michael is here, but he's in the pit, so I don't know if he's not qualifying or not. But we've still got 18 cars, 20 if Alan Patterson and Michael LeMay get out. But I think it could be an interesting race. It's one of them racetracks where we sit back and go, pole could be important, but it's a lot easier to make mistakes at the Laguna Seca, a lot easier to get slowdowns as well. So they've got to be careful of going through the corkscrew. I think that's one of the things they've got to be looking out for here, because the corkscrew and slowdowns is not a good idea. And coming off turn 9, it's also a bit of a problem once again. Maxwell now going purple again. 1:17.6. He improves again, does Luke Maxwell.
Just steadily improving in the session. You mentioned that Michael LeMay was in pit lane. Well, no one has been issued to start from the back, by the way, and there has been a bit of a tweaking to that rule that we did see introduced partway through last season. The pit lane start penalty will still be effective and will still be used, however used in a slightly different way. This pit lane start will now have to be taken only in the feature race, so you can take part in qualifying in the sprint race as you normally would, but you have to start from the back in the feature race. I guess one thinking is for that is because if you start from the pit lane in race 1 and work your way through to 10th place, it actually somewhat benefits you to start from the pit lane, especially if you're a top driver, so it doesn't really punish you. However, starting from the back in the feature race certainly would punish you a little bit more, so that is, I guess, one of the reasons why that decision has been taken. So there's a bit of an adjusting to that rule that has been made, which is worth noting. I think no pit lane starts, as I mentioned, because there were some investigations after the final round last season, but no penalties actually handed out, so everybody's got a clean slate and everyone can start off as normal, just without the reigning champion, which feels a little bit odd on opening day.
Yeah, Maxwell improves again on a 117.4, but Hutchinson's been improving. How much of an improvement? 118.1, not quite in the 17s at the moment. Paul LeMay, George Gonzaga still there as he's going up through the rail straight into the corkscrew. So I wonder when we're going to get the new rescan Laguna.
Does it need much rescanning?
It's been changed, doesn't it?
Not majorly. It's a little bit.
It's Jake coming out this corner. It's all
Well, yeah, it has.
concrete.
It is, sadly. I'd rather keep it this way, to be honest, without the concrete. I don't like the idea of there being a bit of a runoff. Is there maybe a bit of runoff there out of the fast left-hander of turn 6? Rings a bell, maybe. It's been a long time since I watched a race at Laguna Seca. I only really watch one race a year here, and it's the Imsa race, which doesn't even happen every year anymore. So it's very rare I'd see in real life. But yeah, you're right. There have been a few changes. As I say, though, I'd rather keep this version more punishing on the edges of the road if you run a little bit wider in the sand.
Yeah, and since they've added depth to it as well, it definitely does make it effective. You know what I mean? Like before, Mike. That's not a good idea. As he goes round, Gonzaga is in 5th place. But yeah, it definitely does. They've added more depth, so it definitely takes speed off, right? And we know that that's the way it works. When something's deeper in depth, you know, you will. It's like going to the beach and running on the beach right by the water's edge. It's not as punishing as it is if you're trying to run on the sand that's dry. Your feet just sink and you don't go anywhere very quickly. But this is the same thing. They've added depth to it. It does slow down. It takes off a little bit more time. And it's been, this is season number 1 or 2 with the depth to the grass and the gravel added. I personally think I like this one as well. I think they should keep this layout and not bring in the new rescan. But rescan is not really, if they don't bring the rescan in, it's not really keeping with tradition and making it as real life as possible.
Exactly, so fine balance to strike. Luke Maxwell is on pole position though for the opening round of the season. It will be James Barry alongside with John McCutcheon making qualifying, making use of it too to finish 3rd in that session. Paul LeMay will be alongside him with George Gonzaga and James McRitchie next. Robert Woodward and Mike Poussin are on row 4 ahead of David Walters and Seth Brown. Paul Clark and Stuart Geddes just missed out on a top 10 there in that qualifying session. And then filtering our way down to the bottom of the grid, we've got Graham Brown and Paul Crabb, who's a long way back compared to where you'd expect to see from the 2-time champion. We've got Damien G and Dave Rosden after that. Phil Jostin and David Beasley were the final drivers to set a lap, with Michael LeMay and Alan Patterson remaining in pit lane for that qualifying session. Remains to be seen whether they will get out there for the race. We hope that they do. It's a good entry for this opening round of the season.
I can confirm Michael LeMay is on the start. Alan Patterson is not. So I can confirm that Michael LeMay is there. Seth Brown, which one's Seth? He's the bright green one, so we can recognise who he is. So that's incredible. Well done, Seth. Thank you so much for that. Makes our job a hell of a lot easier. But at the moment, Luke Maxwell, James Barry, John McCutcheon, George Gonzaga are the last ones to get on to the grid before we get this race up and running.
Yeah, speaking of liveries, Maxwell and Barry don't make it easy for us with the reverses of each other. The lights are on for a new season here in the Radical Race Series. It's time to go racing in California as the opening round gets underway. It was Luke Maxwell, dominant in qualifying, challenged immediately in towards turn number 1 by James Barry. Side by side between them with John McCutcheon waiting in the wings just behind, but Maxwell will prevail with the inside line to the Andretti hairpin for the first time. Here goes John McCutcheon in 2. Can he work his way into second position? He's on the outside again for the next right-hander and giving a lot of room to James Barry, who will step into that void and take the position. A few problems further back, I'm afraid. Paul Clark and Stuart Geddes among those involved will get a replay at the end of the opening lap as to what's happened there, but it's Luke Maxwell who's converted pole position to an early race lead.
Yeah, he did. He got off the line, done an absolutely stellar job. I will say John McHutchison went deep into turn 3, did not get the car rotated, so Barry just comes and sneaks back underneath him. So that's what happened to John McHutchison. He went in deep, did not quite get it stopped, but is sitting in third at the moment. Buson having a nice little ding-dong battle with David Walters further down the order as these guys are battling it out again. So great action so far. Maxwell taking the whole shot, did what he needed to do, and has got away out front as was expected.
Yeah, it was a good qualifying, and maybe you would have hoped for an even bigger gap during that session, but it's James Barry who was really keeping him in check there, and has done so in the opening moments here too. End of the opening lap, it's Luke Maxwell who leads. Seems that there have been some problems further back out the final corner, I'm afraid, maybe for James Ritchie being one of them. He's down in pit lane, interestingly. And by the way, Josh Gonzaga decided to start from pit lane, so I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, let's have a look at what went on here at turn 1. It was Paul Clark and Stuart Geddes, I think, getting together, and a couple of cars ending up in the sand at turn 3.
Yeah, he did. This is the initial thing from Geddes. Clark's on the outside. Well, unfortunately for Geddes, he took a bit of a dive in there. That put, I believe, that may have been Phil Jocelyn involved. Graham Brown looks like he also got caught up, so it was Graham Brown with the initial contact there. Phil Jocelyn has had a bit of an issue. James McRitchie this time going around the final corner. Not entirely sure what he got up to. That's with Robert Woodward. He's going to spin that up coming out there, and there we go. And that's Robert Woodward, and that is David Walters. So that's how they all come together. So a lot of, I don't know if this is opening race nerves or opening race excitement or adrenaline or whatever it may be, but whatever it is, this is what they've done.
Yeah, that was all very clumsy out of the final corner, I should say. 3 cars ending up in the wall on that occasion, so lots of cars down pit lane. And already Graham Brown is out of the race by the looks of things. Alan Patterson never started the race, by the way. So opening laps complete, or the opening 2 laps complete anyway. Luke Maxwell has converted that to an early race lead. James Barry is staying with him. John McHutchison doesn't seem to quite have the pace today. Not sure what it is, but in qualifying he was nearly half a second back, which is quite unlike him at such a short circuit especially. And now in the race he's immediately been gapped here.
Yeah, but I can tell you what, it didn't look quite comfortable in quali, so I don't know if that's going to need a setup tweak from McHutchison. But Crabb is up 7 places. Michael LeMay, who started at the back, is up 11 places. He avoided all the chaos and carnage and started up there as well. So great job from them. But John McHutchison in second. Barry's gone off the side of the circuit, unfortunately for James Barry. He was chasing down Luke Maxwell. He hit the sausage curb and he's into that gravel exit way that we did say about.
Yep, it's so common to end out there, unfortunately. James Barry, the latest one to be taking a trip through the sand, and he's going to have to try and work his way through on John McHutchison and Paul LeMay as well in the next few moments. It's the end of 3 laps now. Personal bests from the 2 of them in second and third, by the way, but 2.5 seconds behind Luke Maxwell already. That gap growing very, very quickly indeed, and the gaps among the field, the entire field in fact, so large for such an early stage in this race. It's remarkable really, but this is what a chaotic opening to a season and a race does. It stretches out the field dramatically, and there are already quite minimal battles out there on the circuit.
Yeah, it is. Paul LeMay, John McHutchison has won, and then Paul Crabb and Seth Brown. Phil Jocelyn looked like he's had a little bit of an issue, and it just looks like he's going slow, doesn't he, unfortunately for Phil Jocelyn. But John McHutchison, Paul LeMay, I'm hoping Paul has a good season, you know. I think Paul's really deserving of a good season. He's been putting the effort in. He's been so unlucky at times. You know, can't get off the start at Sebring. We've seen that, that's twice we've watched it, and he's actually gone and done that. But I think it would be good for him to have a great start and really get up and running and underway, and I think he would do amazing.
Yeah, we're riding on board with Paul LeMay now out of the final corner. He chases down John McHutchison at the end of another lap. We've got James Barry just behind, but it doesn't look like anyone's catching Luke Maxwell. 4 laps complete now, and he sets another fastest lap of the race, now 3 seconds ahead of McHutchison. Maxwell is dominating here as it's side by side between Paul Crabb and Seth Brown here. It's Crabb in the traditional yellow, of course, alongside Brown in the traditional green, with a bit of added pink this season, it looks like. Down the inside of turn 3 there, Paul Crabb. They remain side by side, locked together, the two of them, but Crabb should get through, and he's into 6th. This is a good recovery from the Irishman because it wasn't a great qualifying, I'm afraid, but he's back now inside the top 10, and comfortably so, in fact. 6th place for him now.
Yeah, he's done really well, up 8 places. Unfortunately for George Gonzaga, he's down 5, and he's trying to get onto the back of Paul Clark. Of course, had his own little issue at the beginning with Stuart Geddes. It's whether or not that car is straight. But Clark, it may be straight, but it does look a little bit twitchy. So we'll have to see and keep an eye on him and whether or not that goes well for Paul. That was quite a big, heavy hit right at the beginning, mind you, and he hasn't got into the pits. So if there is damage on that machine, he's going to be carrying it for the next 5 laps.
He is, and that's a long way to go, unfortunately, even around here. Paul Clark is under a bit of pressure here from George Gonzaga, who started from the pit lane, interestingly. Qualified really well, actually, on the 3rd row, but decided, might as well start from the pit lane, why not? And I don't quite know why, but he's already back inside the top 10. On the outside, into the Andretti hairpin, he brakes very late for a long way round at turn 2, and he makes it work as well. Hats off George Gonzaga there for that one.
Yeah, that was really impressive to go around the outside. He literally did a stellar job. He made it stick, and he broke later and just run it, as Paul Clark seems to be having a little bit of an internet issue there, but he's back hopefully and running. Absolutely stellar move from George. Again, another one that could do with really having a great start and a good season opener. Paul LeMay's, Paul LeMay didn't.
Oh dear. Paul LeMay drops down to 4th place, drops off the podium, I'm afraid. Let's see what happened to him. He was trying a move on John McCutcheon, and I think he just couldn't quite get it pulled up in time, and John McCutcheon has to turn in at some point for the corner.
Yeah, he went over the inside curb, which didn't allow the rotation of the wheels on the Radical, and he just couldn't turn it. And the problem is, straight in the outside was John McCutcheon, and that is where he ended up. So just as we tell him and say he needs a good start to get the confidence building going, it didn't go too well.
I'm afraid not. It's difficult for him to make a move around here, of course, but maybe that's not the way. Paul Crabb is defending here from Seth Brown, by the way. This is a little bit of a run wide for Brown there in the gravel, just kicking up the dirt behind him. But he's going to do well here to chase Paul Crabb, I would argue. Going to be a difficult chase for him here. I think the one I'm really interested to see in the final 4 laps here, and whether there's enough time for it, is whether James Barry can make a move on John McCutcheon. We know these two have had run-ins in the past. Is this going to be another one of those? Is it going to be a successful defence for the 3-time champion of this series, or is it going to be James Barry who ends up 2nd?
Look, I don't think we really want to open up the season opener on drama, right? I don't like drama. Drama don't need to happen right at the beginning. Yes, they've had contact, and yes, we've seen John McCutcheon and James Barry have contact. Yes, they've exchanged lyrical words, and at the end of the day, they've now just got to get on with it. I think it's a new season, new slate. Let's just make it clean, clear, and make sure there's no drama already. Get through round 1 at least. I think if it's coming down to a championship battle, might be a different story, but we're on round 1. What's the problem?
In an ideal world, we can wipe the slate clean, but
yes.
and I hope so for these two as well. I think they probably have done, to be honest. Everyone's very sensible in this league, and that's what I enjoy a lot about the Radical Race Series, to be honest with you. Everyone's very mature as far as sim races go.
Yeah, I think that's the age of the drivers, though, because
that is mean.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. I think we realise when we get older that we're not going to change the world by winning a race, right? I'm not going to go and put on my CV, I won the Bristol 75-lap race in the trucks, and I think that's the thing. It's not going to matter for me. It's not going to be world peace. I can guarantee it's not on Simon Edwards' CV that is a 6-time Radical Race Series champion. It's not on John McCutcheon's. It's as you get older. I'm keeping an eye on YouTube channel because Simon Edwards writ old. I think you mean, and then he ain't written anything. So I don't know if that means he's forgetful or whatever. But as you get older, you don't really see things as important as what sometimes things can be. That was diplomatic, right? Come on, give me credit.
I guess so. You're not going to put your Division 9 Championship leader in whatever class that it is.
I am Division 9 leader. I'm Division 9 leader in trucks.
I know. Yeah.
I was very happy about that.
Yeah. Don't like to mention it either.
No.
But there we are.
I just told everybody in the JPB Discord instead.
Yeah, literally everybody. But hey, it's fine.
Look, it was a fine moment for somebody who never drives. All right, so give me a break. I had to go and boast my achievements at some point.
Exactly. So that's fine. John McCutcheon's still on the defensive here. He's now 5.5 seconds behind Luke Maxwell. 2 laps now to the end of this race. James Barry gets ever closer now into the corkscrew. Takes a nicer line on the way down as well, just shortening the distance ever so slightly down there. Now into the final 3 turns. First of all, the rainy curve at turn 9. Pretty important 10th corner as well. McCutcheon gets it a little bit wrong into the gravel. Now Barry closes in, but he's not close enough for a move at the final corner. You need the exit out of that one to have it going towards turn number 1. I think John McCutcheon's done enough here to hang on, but we'll wait and see as they dip over the rise here, and James Barry not close enough again, running out of laps now.
Yeah, he's not. He's only got this one and one more. I don't know if he's going to be strong enough to get past John, but John is also struggling here, so he's got to make sure as he goes around turn 4, he gets a decent exit out of 5 and 6, and then up with the Rahal straight up the hill to be able to master the corkscrew, because that's really one of the opportunities. And then he's got again on the last lap defend the inside line going into the Andretti hairpin to make sure he can't get through again. So there's a couple of places he's got to defend, and he's got to just make sure he buries them right.
He does through the left-hander. They go on the way up the hill now as well towards the corkscrew. It's going to be James Barry looking for anywhere he can find a move here on John McCutcheon, who is right ahead of him at the moment and remaining in that coveted second position. Barry closer than he's ever been here, within 0.2 of a second into the final turns now. That wasn't the case 1 lap ago. He was hanging back a little bit, and that allowed McCutcheon to get the exit that he needed, and it protected his position into turn 1. This will be the last lap, and it may be the last time towards turn 1, the last chance on this racetrack for James Barry to work his way through. And once again, he's at a similar distance. It would have to be an almighty lunge from there, and John McCutcheon holds on to second again.
I cannot. Where is that back marker? Oh, there he is on the left-hand side. I was wondering, sorry, I was keeping an eye on the track map, and I just saw Luke get stuck behind the back marker, and he just couldn't go anywhere, and he wasn't going past him. So I'm wondering what was going on there. But he's managed to get past him now. He's clearing on the way up through turn 5 into turn 6. These guys coming into 5. Not many places left. For me, I think John should wrap up this second place. There's not many places left for James Barry to have a go.
There really isn't here. I mean, the corkscrew is one of them. Maybe a lunge at the final corner, but I think he might well just back off from this point and not go for it for this second position. It is only for second, of course. It is only the first round of the championship through the final corners now. They'll go, but meanwhile, up ahead of them, Luke Maxwell is on his way to a race victory. The perfect way to start the season for Luke Maxwell. The 2-time Radical Race Series champion starts season 2 of 2024 with first place here at Laguna Seca in race 1. John McCutcheon hangs on from James Barry to finish in the podium places as well. In the end, a dominant drive from Luke Maxwell in that one.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely just ran away with it. He cleared off at the start, managed to get out in front, did a stellar job. Nobody can catch him. We know John was struggling. We know James had his incident that put him into near where John was. So these guys battling away. David Walters, I think you're missing something.
What are we missing?
What are you missing? Well,
is he missing something? What?
How about all of his car at the front end?
What do you mean? Oh, he is. Well, that is odd. I don't know how I didn't spot that in the first place. But he is. Why is that?
Nothing on it.
Why is he missing the whole of his front of his car?
I'm wondering if it's because he got involved in the chaos that went on earlier on, didn't he?
Maybe. It was one of those who hit Stuart Geddes and Paul Clark maybe on that one. Okay, that would make sense. Luke Maxwell is the winner, though, after the opening round of the season. 5 seconds ahead of John McCutcheon and James Barry. Paul LeMay, after his incident at the corkscrew, came home 4th ahead of Mike Busson, who was catching him there. Paul Clark's run through the field got him to 6th place ahead of Seth Brown. George Gonzaga's run from the pit lane got him to 8th ahead of Paul Clark, who recovered from that opening lap spin. And Damien G, who'll be on pole for race 2. Michael LeMay just misses out on that one ahead of a load of privateers, including Stuart Geddes, who was caught up in that lap 1 incident. David Beasley, who was 13th, ahead of David Walters, who was missing the front of his car in that one. James McRitchie was there just behind David Ralston, 15th and 16th for those guys. And these guys now a lap down, like Sir Phil Justin, Robert Woodward, and then Graham Brown, who was 11 laps down in that one in the end. Retired on the opening lap. Alan Patterson never took the start. Stay with us. Second race coming up now, of course. The longer race coming up now. 18 laps on the clock for us, so we'll be looking forward to that one. And the reverse grid, of course. The reverse grid returning once again in the Radical Race Series, the format that makes this championship quite so special.
Yeah, I love this format. I think it's amazing. I'm 13 soon, but my body will be 57. Simon Edwards in YouTube chat. See, we're all young at heart, really, us old people. We like to think of ourselves as Peter Pan until we wake up in the morning and figure out we've got a new pain that wasn't there yesterday. You know, where you wake up and your knees stick and it takes you 10 minutes to sit upright in bed because your back aches. You've got all this to come, Mr. O'Leary.
Thanks for that. Yeah, that's good. Well, I'm glad everyone's taking your old comments well.
Because they're true. It's not like I'm saying anything that's offensive. Let's be real.
Well, some things that are true are offensive. There you are.
They're just true. How can it be offensive if they're true?
Well, you ask the people on the receiving end. that's not me. Anyway, that's for another day. Let's go to the grid for the second race of the night. Damien G on the pole position ahead of Paul Clark. George Gonzaga rewarded for his great efforts in race 1 with a 3rd place start here ahead of Seth Brown. Paul Crabb will be alongside Mike Busson on row 3 ahead of Paul LeMay and James Barry. Then John McCutcheon and Luke Maxwell on row 5. Then those who couldn't quite get into the top 10 last time, starting with Michael LeMay and Stuart Geddes. Next up will be David Beasley and David Walters. David Ralston finished 15th, along with James McRitchie, who was 1 lap down in that one. So was Phil Justin and Robert Woodward. We'll hope that Graham Brown gets back to the start for this one because he hasn't completed a lap yet this season. Alan Patterson probably won't, since he didn't start the opening race of the night either. So we're ready to go racing again. 18 laps this time around in the Radical Race Series. It's the first round of the championship here from Laguna Seca, and we are already going racing. The lights coming on here for race 2, 18 laps ahead of us, and it's Damien G who's on the front. A great start from Paul Crabb in the 5th position, gets him ahead of Seth Brown already. And it's
wide.
George Gonzaga who's going to be challenged next up. There's crashes in the background, I'm afraid, but 3 wide for the lead. Gonzaga down the inside of G, who's stuck in the middle. On the outside is Paul Clark, who's been pushed very wide, and it's George Gonzaga who takes the lead in a great 3 wide moment. Damien G hangs on to 2nd place ahead of Paul Crabb, but what a start from George Gonzaga.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I actually thought it was Paul Crabb's run off the start line because he got an incredible start, got himself up into 3rd. Gonzaga then moves up as well. He was in 3rd, took it into the lead. Damien G got a little bit slow off the line, ended up in a 3 wide moment with Paul Crabb and Paul Clark, and then it all went on behind. Now, I'm not entirely sure what happened to David Rolliston. We will have a look through now. That's Phil, I believe that might be, is that Phil Jocelyn spinning up in the Martini car? Oh!
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a little bit odd there. Did Jocelyn... I guess...
in the Martini car? It's not Jocelyn, is it?
I'm not entirely sure.
In the yellow.
That's the
David
contact.
Beasley. Yeah, David Beasley.
Bit of a meeting of the 2 cars there, really, and not really sure how that's come about, to be honest with you, but it's ended up with a car in the wall, and I'm afraid Graham Brown is... did he not take the start of this race? I guess so. He's still yet to complete a lap this season, sadly. So, Opening lap complete, and off the road in the background there was Robert Woodward. That was Wild in towards turn number 1, and he's going to drop back as a result. But some good starts here, namely by John McCutcheon, who's up to 5th. Luke Maxwell's made up a couple of places, he's 8th. James Ritchie's made up quite a few. He's now inside the top 10, but you'd have to say that John McCutcheon might be one of the favourites for this race now, although James Barry is already in 2nd position after starting from 8th. A great start from him too.
Yeah, I wonder what Barry's going to do now, because Barry and Gonzaga are part of the Insert Name E-Racing team. So I'm wondering what Barry's going to do. Is he going to chase down, or is he going to hold up? That's going to be the 2 decisions. Does he really need to worry too much right at the beginning of the season? No. If this was down by round 9, I think it would be a different story. But at the moment, I don't really feel there's much for him to worry about with James Barry. Just keep the guys behind you. However, the people he's got behind you are the people that didn't look comfortable at Laguna. Paul Crabb, John McCutcheon, Seth Brown, Paul Clark's had his own moments. You know, you've got the faster guys, Abuso and Luke Maxwell and Paul LeMay, about 4 cars back. So at the moment, does James Barry really need to worry when he hasn't got the guys who felt comfortable at Laguna behind him?
Here comes John McCutcheon, maybe. Oh, well, he's been gifting it. It's Paul Crabb who goes wide, and that is a gift for John McCutcheon, who's up to 3rd place. And Crabb's going to be back with Seth Brown again. The 2 of those, of course, fought towards the end of the sprint race a few moments ago. They're now 4th and 5th, ahead of Mike Bouston and Luke Maxwell, who's now up to 7th place, incidentally. But the leaders are getting away here. Are we up for a surprise here today or not? George Gonzaga still leads as it's side by side for 4th again. Paul Crabb will hold on to this one with the inside line at the left-hander of turn 5.
Yeah, going in now on the board with Seth Brown. Goes up the hill. No. Just get the run, come through, and then come off 9. Come on, settle in. I've seen that not work many a time going through that corkscrew, and he just needs to make sure he's close enough now as he goes through 9 into 10 to get the run down the start-finish straight. Everything he's just got to do, he's got to do smoothly now to make sure when he gets onto this long straight, that drive kicks in and he can actually get it going. And he didn't get a great exit. So is he going to be getting the pull he needs? I don't think he's going to be able to get it this time around. What about Maxwell? Maxwell's not going to get it over Bousson either. Another one that's not close enough, unless Luke's going to try something amazing. No. So yeah, I think going to be very interesting going forward. Maxwell doing the right thing. He knows he's got 14 laps. He doesn't have to rush what's going on in front of him.
Yeah, very interesting to see here. This group is right the way from 4th place down to 11th or so, and even then the gaps back there aren't very large either. You can see the field getting a bit further strung out behind. Phil Jocelyn trying to join these guys in the leading group. James Ritchie has made it. He's inside the top 10 now, despite starting lower down in the field after his difficulties in the opening race, of course, and did that one lap down. I mentioned earlier on, are we up for a surprise here? Well, George Gonzaga, I'm afraid, has already been caught in this race. James Barry is right behind him now, looking for the lead.
So what do you do as a team? They're a team. What do you collectively do? Barry got a podium in the first race. Is he going to allow George to defend George, or is George going to have to make way and try and battle John McCutcheon? Because clearly Barry's got no more pace. So what do you do now in this situation? Do you let the faster guy go, or do you try and get the faster guy to defend what's coming up behind you? And clearly that's answered the question.
Yes, James Barry looks like he's going down the inside here and going through. A little bit of a shame, because we always like to see upset wins, and not saying that I am saying that James Barry winning wouldn't be an upset, actually, because he's a very strong driver, of course, and we've seen him win before. But it would have been nice to see, but anybody but Barry there, and I think George Gonzaga defends. Although saying that, it would be surely a huge ask to get him to try and defend for a good 14 laps, which we still have remaining in this race.
Yeah, but now look who's pouncing on the back of Gonzaga. It is Mr. McCutcheon. So what has the Scotsman done? Did he do anything to his setup during the warm-up to try and get it to be a little bit more better for him? Because it wasn't working in race 1, it didn't really work in qualifying. So he took second, don't get me wrong, but it still wasn't quite John McCutcheon-esque, as we say, as we have seen before. So we'll keep an eye on this one as they're going down into the Andretti hairpin. I want to pick up from 6th all the way down to, where are we? 13th. Are all in a line. So I want to pick up that as they're going to see that light coming down in the corner. There they go. There's the start of it there. I'll just see if McCutcheon goes around the outside of Gonzaga. Is he going to be able to make it here? Ewan. Yes, he does. No, he doesn't.
Looks like it.
Oh.
Well, it's a long way round here at the Andretti hairpin, I'm afraid. So, no, actually. George Gonzaga stays ahead on this occasion and will stay ahead for another lap and just help James Barry maybe on his way to a race win. Luke Maxwell's still involved in this group, but as long as he can get back to the podium, they'll pretty much cancel each other out, to be honest. Barry, McCutcheon and Maxwell having had a pretty good day, all in all. Saw Mike Booson off the road there on that lap. Not sure what happened to him, but he's back to the pit lane now. Let's have a look. It was down towards turn 5, and he's just slowing.
I think he had, I don't know if he had a slowdown. Oh, no. That was with Seth Brown.
Oh dear. So contact made with Seth Brown, and I think there was probably damage on the car after this moment.
Where are you coming from, Mike? Oh, and Brown did move in the braking zone, mind you, so...
Ah, yes.
6-1
I'll put that on Brown, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very reactive and not a proactive defence, wasn't it? He saw Buson coming and then moved over in the braking zone, and at that point, well, Buson's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with the lunge, by the way. As long as it's safe and you're not driving someone out of road, then there's nothing wrong with a lunge like that. There is something wrong with changing in the braking zone, though, of course, and so that, unfortunately, has resulted in contact and resulted in Mike Booson down onto pit lane. Seth Brown still remarkably seems to be going okay. When you get hit in the rear corner like that, you can get suspension damage very easily, and rear suspension damage is an absolute nightmare to deal with. But clearly Brown hasn't got any of that, because he's still running inside the top 10. Luke Maxwell is looking for 4th position here, and if he wants to finish on the podium today, he's going to have to get on with this, because we're already a third of the way through this race, and he's still yet to find his way past Paul Crabb.
Yeah, I don't know how worried he would be. Sometimes I think Luke is very calm. I think he doesn't need to worry about what's going on early on. I think he worries a little bit further on in the season. I think he's more of a points grabber than a man that's going to risk it all in the first race. I think that's just crazy. Obviously, it doesn't help that these two have swapped positions and are going to swap positions nearly again. Maxwell's gone around the outside of the 4 in the corner. Crabb's going to take the inside over the line on that run down into Andretti hairpin. They're literally side by side. Crabb's on the right. Maxwell's got the black part of the nose. Crabb's is all yellow. Oh! Crabb put it in deep and stopped him coming through.
Oh, very nice defending there. And this is going to begin to frustrate Luke Maxwell. And we didn't necessarily see this in race 1 because the field got spread out quite quickly, but we're seeing it now, certainly in the second race. The fact that Laguna Seca is a relatively difficult venue to actually overtake on. And Luke Maxwell is the one feeling the full effects of that here. Now he'll go for it. Down the inside at turn 5. That was the kind of move that you need to make. Showing once again that a lunge is not to be unexpected or undeserved when the opportunity presents itself. And this time around, Luke Maxwell executes perfectly. He's 4 seconds away from a podium, but at least he's in 4th.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a tough one for him to get. I picked up on Paul LeMay and James Ritchie. They were at one point nearly side by side running up in through Rahal. Gonzaga's still on the defence from McCutcheon and has been for the last few laps since he got overtaken by his teammate James Barry. So George Gonzaga is just defending well from John. I don't know if John's even got the pace. I don't know if he's sitting there waiting. I don't know what the situation is. Maybe Gonzaga's just driving out of his skin and defending like a trooper. He's going to go around the outside. He's got it too hot, unfortunately, this time around.
He has. Needs to keep it a lot tighter to George Gonzaga than that. How much credit can we give here to George Gonzaga for this win for James Barry, should it come? Because there's nearly 3 seconds of a gap now between 1 and 2, and a lot of that has been created by the teammates. Great working together to exchange the places initially, and now a good defence from Gonzaga here on John McCutcheon too.
Yeah, he's definitely helped James Barry out. I don't think James can really deny that. I think you can't sit back and think, oh, well, I've got the win. Yes, you have, but you do owe a lot of it to the man who sat in second, who has battled away and helped you as much as he can. And that's exactly what he's doing. If he can hold on for him till about lap 10, 11, 12, Barry might have a gap that McCutcheon can't get near. It's a big ask for George, don't get me wrong, but if anybody's got it, George can do it. And we're hoping he comes and does it this season, because he is another one that's deserving of a good season.
He is. There's no doubt about that. Oh,
Yeah.
into the...
Simon Edwards, sorry, put George's Magnussen in YouTube chat after, obviously, Kevin Magnussen's defence. So, yeah.
Certainly, we're not at that levels of extreme just yet, but by the way, there's nothing wrong with that, but anyway. He's on the defensive again here, as you can see. Nothing wrong with this, though. It's the nice line. John McCutcheon was hoping he would fade a bit wide through the Andretti hairpin there to get alongside, and that's happened to a degree.
Oh!
He's on the outside line now into turn 3, and that was all very close and into the wall, I'm afraid, for George Gonzaga. Now, I'm sure he was pushed there by John McCutcheon, but was he the one who... Did he have a bit of a slide on the exit of turn 3? What was at play there is the question. Does John McCutcheon just run over George Gonzaga entirely, or was there a slide from Gonzaga that caused a little bit of a slow exit and caused the spin? A difficult one to call there.
Yeah, we won't know that until we know if there's contact. We can't see if there was contact. It looks ever so close. So if there was contact, it would have been a slight little, you know, like a little push, almost just a little flick, because that looked like it looked like it was, but it also did look like that Gonzaga was losing it already. And I think if you have a look here from John McCutcheon, just there, that may have just given a little bit of contact. But if it was very minor.
Okay.
It was minor. It was. I'm. You know me, right? If somebody does something wrong, I'll call it out on it all day, and I'll be like, right, you can't do that. You run him over. But that contact was, if there was, it was very minor.
I think there was contact, yeah. But I do think it was minor. Although even the most minor of contact can have big consequences, so we'll see what the stewards have to say about that. Looks like Stuart Geddes has gone off the road down the back of the field, I'm afraid. He's down to 15th position now, having let David Beasley and Michael LeMay through at the back of the field, so that's a shame for him. What that has all done is put a load of drivers up a position here. Luke Maxwell is now on the podium. Paul Crabb's now up to 4th place, having recently been overtaken. James McRitchie is now defending from Paul LeMay for 5th place. What on earth was going on at the corkscrew there? I've no idea, but... I could have sworn I saw some smoke, a lot of smoke up the front of the field there. Well, meanwhile, James Ritchie just loses a position pretty innocuously there to Paul LeMay.
He messed up the corkscrew.
Okay.
I wondered how he got through. If you have a look, Ritchie goes into the corkscrew over the gravel, and then Paul LeMay says, thank you very much, I'm on my bike, son, and I'm off there. Luke Maxwell, look where he is. Right up behind there.
He's absolutely here. We're coming up to 2/3 of the way through this race now. 6 laps to go when we get to the line, and that's given Maxwell plenty of time to work his way past McCutcheon, and surely if he can get 1st and 2nd to start off this season, that's a wonderful start for him.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Again, he's taken the opportunity, hasn't he? Taken the opportunity. We got Mike Boost on YouTube, just better on the brakes, and the door was closed on purpose, but that's my opinion. We have confirmed that the move was more reactive than proactive, and there was a move in the braking zone. That's all I'm saying on that one before I end up getting myself in trouble, and I don't want to. So I'm not going to say anymore. But that's what we thought, wasn't it, about the Buson and Seth Brown incident?
Yeah, I think I'm willing to agree with Mike on that one. To be honest, it was a late reactionary move, which you can't do in any braking zone, never mind the biggest one on this racetrack. So I reckon there will be something to say about that in the week. Of course, we'll have all the penalties and all the stewards' decisions for you next week when we're live, same time, same place, here again from the Rudskogen Motor Centre in Norway for the 2nd round of the championship. It's going to be interesting to see sprint and feature racing round there, because if I remember correctly, we've only been there once before, and that was in that one season where we did a mixture of the longer races and the format that we're using here today. For example, we did 9 of this format and just 3 endurance races, and one of those took place at Rudskogen, from what I remember. So be interesting to go there for the first time to do some sprint racing. And a reverse grid as well, of course, around the circuit that everyone can use, but not everybody does very often.
That's because it's not good.
I don't mind it. It's not great for racing, but I don't mind it.
I'm not by any shape or form the imagination a lover of Rod Skogan. I've got to be honest. It wouldn't be one that I would go out to purposely pick. But that's just me, as Paul
Well,
LeMay,
neither have we, to be fair.
No, and Crab are almost side by side. LeMay's just got through, so LeMay's taking the top 4. Paul Crab settling in behind here.
Is that another gifted position for LeMay? Because the car behaviour there of Paul Crab seemed that he was recovering from an off-track moment, maybe.
I'm wondering if he got a slowdown coming out the corkscrew. That's what I'm actually...
So it's another problem that Paul LeMay, too many Pauls, for goodness sake, Paul LeMay has been able to capitalise on, although he's going to have to do some defending immediately in towards turn number 1. Paul Crab will have 5 laps, including the one that we're on at the moment, to try and work his way back through again in what's going to be a good fight for 4th place by the looks of it.
Yeah, we've still got Maxwell McCutcheon. They're keeping an eye on that one. They've been battling it out nicely. They haven't changed positions as of yet, so we will keep an eye on that. But look who's in the background. Mr. McRitchie is slowly closing in on this group of 2, which could turn it into a nice little three-way fight. And will Luke Maxwell get John McCutcheon before the end of the race? I'm kind of erring on the side that he will, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I was erring on the sign that he won't, actually.
Paul LeMay's got to slow down. He's just lost 2 places coming out.
There we go. More issues through the corkscrew. Didn't see so much of this in the sprint race, but maybe as a result of the fact that everyone's so much closer together and actually in fights here, we're seeing a lot of problems. James McRitchie's been through the gravel through there. Paul LeMay and Paul Crab have both had slowdowns now, and it's all going on through there. Meanwhile, John McCutcheon and Luke Maxwell are exchanging places again here in towards turn number 1. And I thought for a moment that Maxwell was going to be through for sure, but no, McCutcheon able to hang on again, and he's still in 2nd place.
Yeah, he is. He is. I think it's really hard because John in race 1 didn't have the pace to match Maxwell, and that's the thing. He didn't have that pace, and he wasn't able to keep up with him. So I'm a little bit worried that that's not going to help. But then again, Maxwell just literally did tunnel vision and did the same thing. So I think Maxwell, he's got a few laps to go, and I think if the opportunity arises, he will take it.
I think so, but they're not presented to you on a plate very often around here. I know we've seen a few examples of that in the recent past, but that's not the common way that it seems to work. James McRitchie, by the way, was briefly ahead of Paul Crab there in that 2nd group on the road, but no longer. So they're still fighting it out as well as we go over 3 laps to go in this race. 18 nearly complete here at Laguna Seca in the opening round of the Radical Race Series. It's all going on down here. A look down the inside from McRitchie on Crab. He can't make that work, and maybe LeMay will be able to do in response to that on the way down towards turn number 1. Maybe Maxwell will be able to work his way past McCutcheon. That's not going to happen. What about McRitchie? Oh, it's going to be late again, and Crab hangs on again. He's a little bit wide through the Andretti hairpin on that occasion, but it won't matter. McRitchie looks back to the inside again, as does LeMay, but no overtakes made. And in the end, it is at 2nd place where the action is. Luke Maxwell finding his way down the inside at turn 5, exactly like what happened to Paul Crab, which gives him 2nd place, and he confirms it into turn 6. That was brave of him round the outside there into a fast left-hander.
Yeah, he did an absolutely stellar job. I just seen him swap, and then he managed to hold on and take the nose off John McCutcheon coming out the next corner. Now for Luke, he's got an opportunity to go here. He can go, and he's going already, half a second up the road. I don't know if John's losing tyres or what the situation is this late in the race, but whatever it isn't going well so far for the Scotsman. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, John's not looking good for the championship. We're only on round 1. That would just be completely insane to say that, as McCutcheon is capable of, as you know, coming back from points down going into the last 4 races.
Yeah, we'll see how this pans out in the last 2 laps now. LeMay, yes, all over the place in the background. Paul Clark might be able to find his way through here for 6th position, as Maxwell is now ahead of McCutcheon for sure. That seems to be settled for second position. LeMay will hang on here too. 6 drivers here fighting for 4th position because Robert Woodward and George Gonzaga have caught up here now too.
Yeah, they're just slowly coming into the mix, but I think it's going to be from here. What's the Irishman going to be able to do against James McRitchie? I was going to say the Englishman, but I'm sure he is, but I might be wrong on that one.
McRitchie?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think so. He's an Aston Villa fan, so I'm going to presume he's from around there.
Oh, lucky about losing the Spurs the other day.
Oh.
But going forward...
They won 5-0 tonight. Not 5-0, sorry. They did win tonight, so I think they're fine.
Oh, but they did lose 4-0.
Okay. I can't relate to that, actually. Anyway.
No, I did see you're getting really antsy about Notts Forest. However, I will say Notts Forest have had a proper rough end of it. Well, this season. But anyway, let's get this one done, and me and you will have this conversation off.
Maybe, yeah. Final lap is upon us. James Barry leading the way by quite some distance with a 4.5 second lead ahead of Luke Maxwell and John McCutcheon. Paul Crabb trying to hang on to 4th place. That's the most interesting battle. That group there involving the 6 drivers. In fact, the 2 of them have gotten away from the rest here pretty well because LeMay is on the defensive from Clark, who's got Robert Woodward for company on the way towards turn 3. Can't do it into that corner though on this occasion. Looks like these positions are going to stay the same on the final lap by the looks of things.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be much changing. If it's going to be anywhere, it'll be down into the 3rd group, which is Paul LeMay, Paul Clark, Robert Woodward and Gonzaga. Woodward's not helping his cause by going over to the gravel. We'll keep an eye on Luke Maxwell. He's on his way round turn 10. Not Luke Maxwell, James Barry, sorry, as he's on his way round turn 10. You can see Crabb up front. He's got McRitchie behind. I think McRitchie's going to settle in. But here he comes. Dominated it.
He has. James Barry wins the 2nd race at Laguna Seca in round 1 of the Radical Race Series for season 2 of 2024. He is a race winner again in this championship. It's drama behind though. Paul Clark's off the road. Robert Woodward's dropped behind George Gonzaga, who gains 2 places on the last lap. What has happened to Paul Clark, who's now down to 10th position, and Walters steps into the void to gain positions as well.
Wow. Where did that hip check come from? Oh.
Wow, that's a dive. I mean, he's alongside, in fairness to him.
I think he gives that place up. Oh, the chopper, watch this hip check. It is literally insane.
Well, yeah, we'll have a look. I mean, he's alongside, isn't he?
Yeah, but he also, if you have a brief little look at his entry going in, we'll try and get just off the chopper.
Dear.
Just
and
about.
Then, sorry, Clark just throws himself off the road again
There.
after entering. Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that, to be honest. As long as he, well, was he going to make the corner, I guess is the next question, but I think he would have done.
Well, bring up the results. And
yes. Let's see where they all ended up. James Barry, of course, the winner, lost a bit of time on the last lap there as he was celebrating ahead of Luke Maxwell and John McCutcheon. Paul Crabb holds off the rest of them to finish 4th ahead of James McRitchie. Paul LeMay steps into 6th position. George Gonzaga gains a couple of places on that last lap to finish 7th ahead of David Walters, who gained as a result of issues between Robert Woodward and Paul Clark on the last lap. Damien G just misses out on a top 10 with Michael LeMay 12th. David Beasley finishes 13th ahead of Stuart Geddes, David Roston and Phil Dawson of those who finished on the lead lap. Seth Brown was 1 lap down. Mike Bootham retired after 4. And then at the very back of the field, Graham Brown and Alan Patterson never took the race start on this occasion. So a good opening round. Laguna Seca always difficult to overtake on, of course, but we weren't short on drama in the end.
No, he definitely wasn't. And I think going forward for these guys, it's going to be quite interesting to see how this schedule turns up. We can give you a rough idea of the schedule. Again, there is a lot. I said to Graham Brown and that in a chat that basically they've got every favoured circuit on this calendar. They've got Rudskogen, all right, not the favourite. Road Atlanta, Watkins Glen, Imola, Panorama, Interlagos, Canadian Tire, Barber, Sebring. Week 11's to be confirmed, but week 12 is Road America. So they've got basically all the normal circuits, should we say, and put them all into the calendar this season.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a good schedule. Already 6 American tracks confirmed, with a possible another one, because the penultimate round is to be confirmed. But we're going to a new finale venue, and we're chopping and changing with the finales this season, which I think is a good thing. Road America is on the list this time around. Let's chat to Luke Maxwell, though, as we begin our post-race interviews here from Laguna Seca. Welcome in, Luke. Good to have you with us. A good opening night for you, I think it's fair to say. A double podium, including a relatively comfortable race 1 victory for you. How was your evening overall?
Yeah, good. I tend to go well at Laguna. I like the circuit, run good pace, but it is hard to race there. It's very hard to get around people. So I do start in P10 in the feature. I'd have to be patient, and that's the aim of the game this season, is try not to make any silly mistakes, pick up penalties, and be patient with the racing. So, yeah, I thought, once I saw James was up there, I didn't think I'd have a chance of catching him, and even getting past John was a awful lot of work. It was he's obviously a very good driver, and he was keeping it as tight as he could, but I could see him making a few small mistakes. So just was patient really, and bided my time.
It was difficult for people to make their way through today, but more than any other driver on the circuit, you seem to find some joy at turn 5 as you get on the brakes there for that left-hander. But there's not a huge braking zone down there, especially in these cars. So how are you able to make that particular overtaking zone work, whereas a lot of others were struggling a little bit?
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 5. Yeah. That downhill just before you start to go up towards the corkscrew. But yeah, before the hill.
Where you overtook Crab and John through there.
Yes, yeah. I was. I think with Paul, I saw him getting on the brakes at the 3 marker, and I knew I could brake just before the 2 really, and I seemed to be able to carry the car in with a good bit of speed. It is a bit tight. You've got to be careful on the exit there, because if you get a wheel on the sand, essentially you've got a good chance of spinning, especially if you cook in the tyres through the corner. So. I was fairly comfortable there. It's just a hard place to pass. Just had to try and pick my moments, to be fair. And it's dangerous, obviously, going up in towards the corkscrew. I had good pace, I think, through the corkscrew and down the hill, but it's very hard to make a move there. I tried it on Mike a couple of times I think in the second race there, and he was closing the door. But for me, you hold a tighter line down there, and tends to give you a bit more grip anyway. So it was good fun. Really enjoyed that, and really satisfied to post a good score. It's been a while, probably since I scored that many points in a round.
I'll look it up, but maybe. And I forget, by the way, that drivers don't really understand corner numbers, don't really care. So there we are.
I know the one you mean, and it's I was definitely trying to brake probably between the 2 and the 3, and I think most people were getting on the brakes around the 3. So I knew I had good stopping power there.
Yeah, it's easy for us. We got the tram ahead in front of us, but there we are. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Luke, before we let you go?
Oh, it's got to be Mr. Edwards, isn't it? Come back. Well, see you next week, hopefully.
You really want him back, or do you want beat you? Or
only if he's broken his fingers or something.
Well, there we go. No, we do hope to see Simon Edwards, and of course Phil Glover, who's a stalwart of this series, to be back.
Yeah, get well soon, Phil.
Soon. Yeah, absolutely. So thanks so much, Luke, for coming to chat to us tonight, and we'll hopefully see you next week.
Cheers, guys. All the best.
Thanks very much, Luke Maxwell, there chatting to us at the end of the first 2 rounds of the championship here at Laguna Seca. James Barry beat him in the second race, behind him in the first. He joins us now. Welcome in, James. Good to have you with us. Good to see you winning again in the Radical Race Series. How does that feel after taking the top step in race 2?
Yeah, that's only my second feature win in the series in the, I guess, 3 or so seasons I've been here now. So yeah, really, really happy with that. Really good way to start the season. Just what I need.
You mentioned it there. You have won before in this series, but you've never been able to take a championship challenge right to the very end of a season just yet. Just what can you do about that this season in terms of making this one last and maybe going a few better than you have done in the previous seasons you've been in so far?
We're going to have to find out because this series is so unpredictable. I've got pretty good pace, but you can see with how Luke was driving today, I wasn't able to match him. So when he's on form, when Simon's on form, when John's on form, it's always tough to beat these guys. So I'm just going to have to wait and see. But I'm hopeful I can push for the title this season. That is my aim.
Absolutely. What about Rudskogen next season? Are you a fan of that circuit?
I haven't driven that track since I started iRacing a year ago, so I'm going to have to do a lot of practice for that one. And yeah, I have no idea how I'm going to be there.
I don't think you're alone in that one. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Shout out George Gonzaga, my teammate. He's always very kind to me on the track, and it's really good driving with him as a teammate. And also shout out Luke for the pace he had at this track. It was really impressive. So I'm going to see how that carries on in the season. Sorry?
Quick thing, James. How much do you owe George to that win? Because he was defending like a trooper against John McCutcheon.
I'd like to think that I would have won anyway, but I'm pretty sure George let me through when I went past him, and he could have defended against me like he did against George. So yeah, against John, sorry. So yeah, so shout out to him, as I said.
Yeah, we'll never know, but certainly a great win from you in race 2. Congratulations on that one, James, and we look forward to seeing you again for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks very much, James Barry, the race 2 winner tonight at Laguna Seca. And unfortunately, that's all the interviews we've got here for tonight. As we mentioned, Phil Glover not here tonight. We always chat to him at the end of these broadcasts, but not able to, not racing tonight. In hospital, so we hope that he gets well soon. But aside from that, James, we've had a good opening round here at Laguna Seca. Still 11 to go and a long way to go, of course. But the main protagonists have shown themselves again. In absence of Simon Edwards, the reigning champion, of course, has allowed Luke Maxwell and James Barry to step into the void with race win, and John McCutcheon to take a double podium here tonight as well. It's been the usual suspects up at the top tonight.
Yeah, and it has. Simon Edwards put in YouTube chat, he will be back. He actually said it in the Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. So, yeah, it'd be good to see him
when?
back. What?
But when?
Oh, I don't know. He didn't tell me that. He just put, I'll be back. And that was it.
That's the only problem. You don't know when. But
no, not true. But look, he's coming back. That's all that matters.
Yes, we of course look forward to seeing him on the track once again. Thanks very much for joining us here tonight. It's been a pleasure to bring you the Radical Race Series once again for the start of a new season. This is season 2, of course, of 2024. Thanks very much for watching. I've been Ewan O'Leary, James Parfitt alongside me, and until we see you in 1 week's time at the Rudskogen Motor Centre in Norway, it's goodbye for now.